Hello everyone! This is Running on Empty Food Review. Well, hello, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone watching. Welcome one and all to this newest edition of the Running on Empty Food Review series. I'm your host, the Report of the Week. Thanks for checking in. Every now and then Popeyes will come out with a new item, and usually they have a lot of interest surrounding their releases, although I think it's undoubtable that the item of theirs that everyone thinks of, right? These days, when you think about Popeyes, what was the trend that they started a couple years back, right? What is that one item that you think of when it comes down to Popeyes? What comes to mind, right? Say it with me on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. IDK meal. Yeah, that was a bad joke, but they did release the IDK meal, but everyone, of course, thinks about chicken sandwiches when it comes down to Popeyes. The famous chicken sandwich, they were the ones that started it all. Not the concept of a chicken sandwich, but the whole chicken sandwich craze back in 2019 that still is going to this day. That all started with Popeyes. And every now and then they'll make a few tweaks with their chicken sandwich because they know they've got themselves a bestseller. And they know that, it's really what drives a lot of interest to their chain these days. So this is an item that it's got people talking, and I got a bunch of requests to try this one out, so I'm giving this a shot. Popeyes has released the new Blackened Chicken Sandwich. So here's what this is, because you might be saying, all right, obviously, presuming the name isn't some sort of lie, this is a chicken sandwich, but what exactly is a blackened chicken sandwich? What differentiates that between their regular chicken sandwich? So the big difference between, their standard chicken sandwich and the new blackened chicken sandwich, this version is breading free, so it has no breading on it. As a result, it's not quite grilled, because it does have a little bit of a rub on it, so it's not like it's just has no seasoning on it whatsoever. It just doesn't have that fried, crispy outer breading on it that the regular chicken sandwich has. So what this has is you have, of course, a chicken fillet, and it is coated in, as they describe, Cajun and Creole seasoning for a little bit of spice. It also has some pickles on it and some classic mayo, although if you want, you could switch it, get their spicy mayo for a little bit of extra spice. And that brings you the Blackened Chicken Sandwich. So it's for people out there who really just maybe don't like the breading, maybe you're trying to go for a certain diet, or you just want to switch it up a little bit. Whatever it might be, Popeyes now has this alternative for you, and I want to try this out. I want to find out, all right, is this any good? How does it compare to their standard chicken sandwich? And so on. But again, comes with the chicken fillet, some pickles, the classic mayo, of course, on a bun. It's available at the price of $5 for the sandwich itself, although the price can fluctuate. In my case, for instance, I paid $6 for the chicken sandwich. All right, going to take a look at it, then I'll try it out and give you the assessment. Some pretty straightforward stuff. Real quick, just before I get into the rest of the review, I always just want to give a little bit of a heads up every now and then, just so you know this stuff exists. One way to support this channel that I'll try to mention every now and then is by obtaining merch, or merchandise, as they say. But the way, if you want to get any merchandise, be that t-shirts, posters, mugs, etc., you could find the link in the description or in the pinned comment. I have a store on Teespring. The URL is a little bit long, but you'll find it right there in the description, or again, just check the pinned comments and take a look, see if there's anything there that catches your interest. And of course, if there is something and you want to go for it, it's a way it supports what I do, it supports the channel, supports my podcast and my radio show. All right, with that out of the way, I had to laugh when I saw this. This is the bag that they gave me for the chicken sandwich right there. This giant shopping bag. And inside this is that. The chicken sandwich. Though it looks like they did put a little bit of a sticker right there for the blackened chicken sandwich. And now, as we get into the moment of truth, I'm going to take a sip of water to prepare myself. Now I think I'm as ready as I'm going to be. Let's see. And there it is. Let's focus the camera. There you go. All right, so you can see, pretty much as described, pretty straightforward. You could see the pickle right there. There's the mayo, the bun, and then you could see that is the blackened chicken. And you could see right there, see the spices on the surface of it? You could see it. I think you could get a good view of it right there. That's what it looks like. So I'd say it looks exactly as advertised. Looks exactly like what they said you'd get. Let's do the great debunning. Yeah, it's looking a little blackened, as you'd say. But yeah, looks pretty straightforward, I would say, anyway. So, you know what's on it. I know what's on it. We all know what's on it. We know what it was up to last night. And now, let's find out if it's any good or not. The blackened chicken sandwich from Popeyes that's going in. The other day I stepped outside, got some fresh air. You ever go and look at the clouds, and sometimes you'll see the different clouds, and you'll look at the shapes of them, and you'll kind of think, oh, this cloud kind of looks like this, or that, or the other thing. You'll try to see little shapes and stuff in the clouds. Well, anyway. I saw this one cloud the other day, and I swear that it kind of looked like a lion. That's what I saw. Kind of looked like one. And ask yourself this question. Think about the word lion, and think about Popeyes. What do they have in common? Think about that for a minute. What do they have in common? They both have the letter O in the name. The build-up for that was a bit longer than I anticipated it to be. Alright, here's what I have to say about the blackened chicken sandwich. I don't know if it came down to individual preparation, so this is one of those things that I stress that right off the bat because that might just be the case, so just take that into account. Problem I had with mine was was how tough the chicken was. Everything else about the sandwich was totally fine. Generally speaking, Popeyes does a pretty good job with their chicken sandwiches. Very seldom do I have a bad experience with their chicken sandwiches. I mean, obviously nothing's perfect 100% of the time, but by and large, I really don't have very many problems. It's a very simple concept. There aren't a lot of ingredients here, and everything usually works out quite nicely. And indeed, mayo was fine. There's not a lot to really say about it. It just adds a little bit of moisture to it. That's totally fine. There aren't any problems there. Same thing with the pickles. They have a nice crisp nature to them, firmness, but they have that nice tang to them as well, which always complements these chicken sandwiches quite nicely. This is no exception. So right off the bat, the pickles, the mayo, that's fine. The bun is a little chewy, but it offers, again, some structure to it. No problems whatsoever yet. As for the chicken itself, I can't even criticize the seasoning on it. The seasoning, you could obviously see it when I was showing you the cross sections, and earlier when I was showing you the chicken fillet. You could see the seasoning on the surface of the chicken, and indeed I can still taste that, especially that Cajun note that it has. Nice spice to it as well. Not that I would really call this any sort of, it's not overwhelmingly spicy or anything like that. It's just there's a nice note of that flavor there, and it definitely just kicks it up a notch in terms of quality, so it is very flavorful. So obviously, as you could see, everything that I'm describing about this chicken sandwich is quite good so far, right? All the other components are meeting the mark, right? They're meeting, if not surpassing expectations. The seasoning on the chicken's fine. So what's the problem that I have? Like I said a little earlier, it is the consistency of the chicken, really its texture. My concern is that maybe they cooked this for a little too long, and like I said, that just might be an issue on my end. That might just be the way that they made the one that I got. However, when I do these reviews, it is my intention to simply try these and review what I get as I get it, and that will be that. So, bear that in mind, but when I bit into this, despite all the flavor, despite everything else working out quite nicely, you might have noticed that it was a little hard for me to even take those first few bites. That you might have noticed I was kind of really trying to chomp away at it. Then you saw me shift the sandwich around because I thought, all right, this chicken seemed really tough. It just seemed really, like I said, it just texturally speaking, it was really tough, really chewy. It reminded me of like a piece of jerky as opposed to a chicken fillet that you would expect to see on a chicken sandwich, and that's a problem. So I thought, all right, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I turned the sandwich around. I decided, all right, let me take in another angle. Let me try another part. That was slightly less chewy, but even that, it was just way tougher than I thought it would be. And that doesn't lead to an enjoyable experience whatsoever. That's a major problem that I got. Now, like I said, I don't know if this is just an issue with the one I got and how they prepared mine, or if this is supposed to be a quality of the blackened chicken sandwiches, but either way, when you're eating a chicken sandwich, it doesn't need to be melt in your mouth or anything like that, but it certainly should not have the toughness and the firmness like a piece of jerky should have, right? It shouldn't be very rubbery and chewy, and you shouldn't have to be trying to to pry this thing out of your teeth just to try to get a bite, or any of that. It definitely should be soft to an extent. It should be tender, as the word that I'm specifically looking for here, as opposed to being tough and really chewy, really difficult to separate, just like this. In that case, when it's got that issue, what does it matter that it has good seasoning on it when you can't even enjoy the chicken itself? So that's a big problem that I noticed. Otherwise, and here's the odd part, right? Despite that really tough quality to it, the chicken in and of itself isn't even that dry. That's the weirdest thing to me. Usually when I have these sorts of problems, it's like it's really dry, it's really tough, it's really chewy. In this case, there's actually some moisture to it. But it still is just like this solid, chewy object that I'm just struggling to chew and take a bite out of, and it's just really overly firm, and that's an issue. So, taking that into account, it can taste good, the seasoning can be there, all the other ingredients can be there, everything can go nicely, but when it's such a pain to eat like that, to the point where it's really impractical to eat, and it's not enjoyable in any way, shape, or form, because it's just this solid, rubbery mass, that's a big problem. They call this a chicken sandwich. All the other components are important and all, but the chicken itself, that is the signature part of this dish. So, on a final assessment, price for this on average is $5. I paid $6 for this, and despite everything being there, despite everything tasting all right, because of those textural issues, that's not good, and that's a problem. So, I'm going to say this on a final note. Taking into account what I ate, and the major problem that was with a key core component of this sandwich, I have no other choice but to give the Blackened Chicken Sandwich from Popeyes a 3 out of 10. Because that's how important that chicken fillet is. Now that's the one that I got. If they're all like this, if it's all supposed to be this way, then it's just not a good item. It's a great concept, there's a lot of potential to it, but it's just been completely squandered in that regard. Now here's the caveat. If this problem, in terms of how tough it was purely unique to my end, and if the ones that most people get are tender and much more enjoyable and much easier and, like I said, much more enjoyable to consume, then the sandwich would probably get about a 7.7 out of 10. So that's a huge thing to take into account, but understand if you get yours and it's tougher like this, it's going to be a great idea, it's going to be completely wasted, completely just down the drain, and it's going to be frustrating because you're going to sit there and you're going to think, this has a lot of potential, this could be really good, and then this is what they did with it. Very disappointing in that regard. So, just take that into account. I wish this one were better though. It's frustrating. This is a great concept, has a lot of potential, it tastes good, but when it's a solid rubbery mass, there's nothing you could really do with it, and that's terribly frustrating. That's all that I have for you. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm your host, The Report of the Week.